Welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. I'm Kent Adams, and I hope you're having a really great day today. We're going to talk about homelessness in our area with a friend of mine, and he's been kind of helping to take the lead in Spokane with bringing it to our attention. And actually, Chud and his group are actually, in a lot of ways, taking leadership in something that, personally, I think our elected officials should have solved long before now. We are news, views, and conversation. We'll have a conversation, now that you know my view, right after this.
To help you be safe, Washington state law requires you to call 811 2 full business days before you plan, for example, to dig, drill, plow, pull from, or pound anything into the ground. Be prepared to provide the operator with the correct address, cross street, and the description of your work. You must mark the dig area with white paint. The operator will inform you of the utilities notified of your impending excavation. Wait for all their marks. Be safe and dig with care.
Well, here we are. Chud Wendle. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
How about you and your new
Well, you like
studio?
it?
I love it.
We're okay?
I like it. I
think,
approve.
I think this honestly fits our mode, which is podcasts, a little better, a little more comfortable, a little more intimate, and so forth. For those of you watching that don't know Chud personally, and I don't know, there must be one or two people out there. Yes, you are part of the Wendle family, so you've been part of this community for a very long time. I bought many cars from you guys over the years. But maybe perhaps more important is your title these days is what, president or
Executive director.
Executive director.
Yeah.
Every time I have somebody in here from a nonprofit, it's like a different title. I've given up. Okay, I'm always wrong.
Yeah.
But executive director of the Hutton Settlement, and you're in your 102nd year.
Yes, good memory.
Yeah.
So we are just hitting our one.
That's it for today. I won't be able to remember anything.
You're good. You
else.
passed.
Wow, when that was established, it was established by Hutton, Mr. Hutton, and so much of his assets were really put in long-term opportunities to ensure that Hutton Settlement, I think, is supposed to last, 250 years or something like that?
Correct.
See, I listened to you the other day. Yeah, there's hope. And a lot of that today, I don't know if it was at the beginning, but today is in commercial and other property in this area, which means people rent or lease space from you and so forth and so on. I'm saying that because that leads to why you're involved today and have been for a couple months in really watching over and trying to push forward a better solution to the homeless problem. And we have a number of organizations in town that have been doing their things. Sometimes I swear they do it because there's government money coming, rather than organizations like the Union Gospel Mission and others, in Salvation Army and so forth, that don't take so much or any of the federal or local dollars from government. They do it on their own. And frankly, they do it better, I think, in a lot of ways. And they take on some tough folks. We just had on yesterday a gal from the Sequoia Detox Center that has just opened out in the valley, and to hear about the challenges that drugs and alcohol and all of that take on people, and that's a lot of the problem we're seeing out on the streets. It's not so much folks who have lost their lease or are out of their homes. It's a lot of drugs out there, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
And so, why did you start this group? And let's go back a little bit. And
I think touching on the history of Hutton is a critical piece of it. When Levi founded it, he put a vision out there, and his vision was to be able to provide hope, opportunity in life for underprivileged children.
Yes.
Much like him, he was an orphan. He didn't have these options, or he didn't have the privilege to go on and follow his parents because he didn't have parents. So
he had like a third grade education or something,
Yeah,
didn't he?
correct.
Yeah.
And so, through a lot of good fortune, a lot of hard work, he was put in a position where he was able to have a dream come true, to be able to take that hope and put it into reality. And so he put his vision and his mission out there, but his goal and the way he wanted to fund that vision was in a way that funding model would outlast the vision.
Okay.
And that you don't hear that much.
No.
And so he did that by exactly what you talked about, and that's invested in commercial real estate.
So that started at the beginning.
That was at the beginning.
Okay.
And so the Hutton building is one of the original buildings that
Yes.
was endowed for the Hutton settlement. And so the rental income from that facility, as well as others at the time, City Ramp was another one, would fund the operations of the campus.
Okay.
And so the day-to-day, putting food on the kids' tables, putting clothing on their backs, paying for the house mothers and house fathers,
Right.
that has been that way since day one. And
Wow.
that was because of his vision, and he felt it was a safe investment. And we're investing back in the community too, per se.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, and you know, because you've worked with nonprofits over the years, like I have, the hand-to-mouth situation, if there isn't that endowment of some sort, you know, it's tough.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is. It is tough. And so for these almost 102 years,
Yeah.
we have been able to operate on a sustainable budget without taking any funds from the government. So we're in a position to where we're utilizing 100% of our own funds, which allows us to stay true to Levi's vision and mission from day one. So we're not shifting around trying to take different grants or different government funding for different programs. So we stay
Right.
true to it. That's the beauty of it. Now, where that goes now to today is that we have 22 properties that fund about a $2 million operating budget on campus.
Okay.
Of those 22 properties, 2 are outside of Spokane County.
Okay.
One's in Benton County down in Kennewick, and then the other one is in Kootenai County, Coeur d'Alene. Ironically, 20 of our properties have all faced some type of property damage, safety issues within the employees, the customers.
Sure.
They've had stolen goods, shoplifting. Our security costs have gone up trying to patrol our properties. Those 20 are all in Spokane County. The Benton County and the Kootenai County, ironically, we haven't had to do one thing with. They still are operating, so there's no security. We don't have graffiti paint that we have to
Wow.
worry about. So I think last year we hit a point where we just I got to wit's end on managing the properties and dealing with the challenges we were seeing. And I felt like my voice alone wasn't a loud enough voice.
Right.
As I try to work with our elected officials, the city council, the mayor.
Yeah, it's easy to put off one person, and
So what that led to then was a few of us property owners. We felt like it wasn't just a downtown issue. Because our properties are all throughout city of Spokane. This is a city of Spokane and actually a regional issue in Spokane County. And so we started talking, and everybody came together like, you too? You had that same issue? You're having problems?
Yeah.
I've talked to the council, I've talked to the mayor, and I haven't heard anything. They haven't done anything. They've told me what solutions bring me more money. And as we thought,
it's always more money.
that's unfortunately what always came with the response that we received. So we put together a real small group. It was originally about 25 commercial property owners, and we were able to share with Council President Breanne Beggs the challenges we're facing, all the way from Larry H. Miller operating last year during the pandemic with hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage.
Yes, he
of
had
break-ins
damage,
and
I know.
vehicle damages, and dealing with the customer perception of, is it safe to even go shop for a car downtown?
Yes.
And so those are things that we learned quickly that other businesses and property owners were dealing with. And our goal with it was to form a council, much like a neighborhood council,
Right.
where we would have the direct voice of our elected officials. And Breanne recognized us as a commercial property council, just like the 30 neighborhood councils in Spokane.
Okay.
Consists of two council members, Councilmember Cathcart and Councilmember Wilkerson, and we do have a county commissioner on our council, and that is Commissioner Kearns. And then we also have included the Valley, and so Deputy Mayor Brandy Peets is also on and involved. But the biggest piece would be then law enforcement, and we have a neighborhood resource officer that is dedicated to our group.
Nice.
So
nice.
that's the structure of it, and we just had our 5th council meeting this week.
Right. So, are we solving the problem what are the problems? How do we move forward? Why the lack, I'm asking a lot of questions, why the lack of fortitude, if you will, I'm trying to be nice in saying this, from our council and mayor?
Yeah, it's such a complicated issue, and I think we got to start where the group went, and we wanted to understand it better. And to understand it, you really had to dig into that homeless ecosystem, because that's what's going on. I mean, there's just a lot of complexities and a lot of pieces to it. So our group opted to go out there and tour. We toured 8 different shelters, homeless shelters. We met with countless providers, VA and Goodwill, that are providing services to them. And what we're trying to do is learn what's going on and where are the gaps.
Right.
And then we did ride-alongs with the police department to determine what's going on the street level.
Right.
And see it through their eyes and where the issues are. And then what I love is that we went out there and found cities that are working on it and proactively working on it and actually have moved the needle on this homeless challenge.
Good.
What are they doing? How are they doing it? And try to bring those practices back here to the community. And so that's where we started on the education front. And then from there, the conversation's everything. This is not an elected official. They're not going to fix it.
No.
And the mayor's not going to fix it on her own. The council's not going to fix it on their own. But I'm going to tell you what, if we're going to make it political and we have a divisive council versus the mayor, we're never going to fix it.
Right.
And so our group was hopefully bringing the community in and taking the politics out and saying, this is what we want. We want to be the cleanest, safest city in the country. That's what we want. How do we get there? Everybody can agree that's what they want. But what's that look like?
Yeah.
And for players like Catholic Charities, what's that mean?
Yes.
For players, we had Family Promise of Spokane on today. They're doing amazing work. And I don't think the community recognizes it. They're all about accountability. And this is where I think the city of Spokane needs to come in. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Right.
We don't know what the problem is. We don't really accurately count it. They have a thing called point in time. So once a year, it's in January, the worst month probably to count. And it's very inconsistent. It's all dependent on how many volunteers you have and what kind of questions you ask. And so you get what you ask for. And if you're asking garbage, you're going to get garbage. And that's my opinion, is that
Right.
it's
But
garbage.
I've heard that from others. I've heard that from countless others, okay, that's useless.
So if you're starting here, I go to the car business and we want to sell 300 cars and we got 2 in stock, we're not going to get there.
Yeah.
We're not going to get there. And so if we don't know how many homeless we're serving, then we don't know what success looks like. And so this Joe Ader from Family Promise Spokane, he is all about tracking and accountability.
Yeah.
You got to measure it, and then he can manage it. And he can show you what his return on investment is down to a penny.
Yeah,
and that's what we need
Union
to
Gospel's that way too.
Union Gospel.
And Salvation Army, I haven't talked to them for some time, but I would guess that they are too.
I agree. And there are great players in this community.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to point a finger at the ones that aren't, but I will tell you that we all need to be on that same page.
Right.
We all need to be part of it. It's a community issue. And if we're going to let things turn our heads the other way, and it's all about funding, to be quite honest.
Yes.
And if we're going to allow funding to keep continuing to fund ineffective or nonprofits that aren't necessarily accountable to their outcomes,
Or
why?
nonprofits that are headed by friends of council members or past council members. There's been some of that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
let's put it on the table and honestly move forward.
And that's what we got to do. And so it starts with the accountability and the data, and we got to all agree on what that looks like.
Right.
And then I think it comes to, what does a good neighbor look like? And as a business, I want to be a good neighbor to my fellow businesses and/or residents in that area. And we got to expect that of our nonprofits too.
Yes.
And and you look at down on Pacific and Brown and what's going on down there, and you see Brown Street Viaduct. What's a good neighbor look like? What should they be doing? Are they doing enough? Those are the questions we're asking. Madison Street and 2nd Avenue, there's a organization called Citygate there, and I would assume they do decent work, but they're not being good neighbors, and I will call a spade a spade. I think the businesses that, some that have moved out, one into your building here, and we got to hold them accountable.
Yes.
It's a community issue. So that's where this group's really come from and where it's growing. It's up to, we have over 200 on our email list and over 300 on Facebook, and we're all finding you throw politics aside and focus on the cleanest, safest city and what's going to take to get there. We're all on the same page.
Good. What are you hearing back? Because ultimately a lot of the decisions of where the funding comes from comes through local, meaning federal dollars that come in, and local and state, COVID dollars, I mean, all of that. But they're made locally, either by the county and or the city of Spokane, for instance. And I'm glad that the city of Spokane Valley is a part of this, because they've been isolated from a lot of what's been going on until now. It's traveling out there. It's not, as you had said, just downtown anymore at all. And
homeless knows no boundaries.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, just today's meeting, Joe Ader from Family Promise Spokane acknowledged that Cheney's got an issue. They're putting a shelter out there. Their shelter isn't what you would perceive as a big, building,
Right.
5 floors.
but they could do good work.
They're going to do good work there.
Yes.
So it knows no shelter, knows no boundaries. Homeless knows no boundaries.
Yes.
So they are coming. Commissioner CUNY has stepped up in a big way, working with Mayor Woodward. Deputy Mayor Brandy Peets is really at the table, and then so yes, but the funding and the policy is a big piece of it.
Yes.
And I will tell you, last week the Mayor Woodward had a press conference where I feel like they laid a stake in the ground. They put a stake down and said, we're not going backwards from this point, which is where I think we've been over the last 12 to 24 months.
Continue the same policies.
Yep. They're not working.
Yeah.
And they're not working. And she said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think number one, there's a law called sit and lie.
Yeah.
And to be able to enforce sit and lie, you have to have an available or optional shelter bed for that individual if they are down, say, underneath the Brown Street Viaduct.
Right.
If we don't have that shelter bed,
we
can't enforce it.
Yeah.
And so, the problem that I see and that our group's seen is that there is a large population that is shelter resistant, meaning they don't want to go there. They don't want services or accountability. Yeah. So that bed's never going to come into play, but the law says
so what do we do with them?
So she has a plan to get to that point where we can enforce sit and lie, and I'm confident. She laid that out there last week.
Good.
She's working with Volunteers of America, who are doing a fine job, great job. Fawn Schott just opened up the Hope House 2.0, and I am a big believer and supporter of them.
Good.
Salvation Army has a called the Way Out Shelter. It's all about accountability.
Good.
And Major Ken Pren is working on that. And then the Cannon Street Shelter is another one, and that's operated by the Guardians, and they have done great work. And what I've seen is they are a good neighbor, and they're working with the neighborhood council, and that's what we want to see, because the NIMBYism, not in my backyard, is for all of us, you, me. We don't want it in our backyard.
No.
But when you're a good
But when we
neighbor,
come to work, we don't want to have to pass 8 or 10 people sleeping on the sidewalk, okay?
Absolutely.
And who knows what else they're doing.
Yep.
Because you've seen other things go on.
Yep.
Fortunately, I haven't seen. But one of the reasons my wife does not want to come downtown anymore. And we've got to stop that.
Yep, I agree.
What if we don't have a live and wonderful downtown, where most of this is downtown, not all, but most of it is.
Yeah.
We don't have a great community. And when I say community, I talk about more than downtown.
Yep.
It needs to happen here first.
Yep.
And get out to the rest of our community.
I couldn't agree more. And we went backwards last year because we were not present downtown.
No,
and
that's
so then the ugly parts came out.
Yeah.
And there wasn't accountability. And then we saw things in the office buildings, and we saw retail stores being impacted.
I'm hearing good things about our police chief. Are you too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chief Meidel and the Spokane Police Department, they want to be the cleanest, safest city.
Yes.
And they want to do it. They want to do it in a way that we do it together.
Yes.
And it takes us all working.
Yes.
But there's enforcement. That means we got to enforce the law. Yeah. And they want to enforce the law fairly and equitably.
We've got to be sure you have those beds available so that they can be enforced, or a jail cell for those who are really abusing things.
So that's a big piece. I will say this though. The challenge, we're tying their hands to a certain extent. One, on that sit and lie piece, but on the decriminalization of drugs and enforcement of drugs. There was a Supreme Court ruling this winter, and then the legislative session, they passed a law that I think is decriminalizing hard drugs. And I've talked to Senator Billig, I've talked to several that were involved with it, and I'm very disappointed because we're going backwards with it. And what that does is it takes away the enforcement piece of it. And these people that are using on the streets and that are service barrier or shelter resistant, we have to change their behavior.
Yes.
And in order to change their behavior, I hate to say it, but sometimes that means jail. And if we aren't going to go to jail, they're not going to go through
Well, you got to
detox.
put your foot down.
And so
somehow.
getting away with it right now is what's happening. And so we're seeing aggressive behaviors that are resulting in broken storefront windows, graffiti, threats. I have 2 employees in our little office, and both have had threats against them.
No.
And these aren't fair.
That's awful.
But if police can't enforce, we're going to continue with this behavior, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and if the police are picking them up and can't really put them in a jail or anything, what's the purpose? I mean, it's taking them off the streets for other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the complicated system comes in. There's some gaps out there, gaps in drug and alcohol rehabilitation,
Right.
detox. We need a formal detox type operation where we can get help for these individuals.
Well, with
right
the
away.
Sequoia, one of the things I learned from Amanda yesterday is that the biggest drug problem is alcohol. And we probably all knew that, but to hear that again when we talk about the legalization of other drugs, and I'm going, because it's available, and it's available often to young people too.
Yep.
And so fortunately, some people and families realize that there is a problem and will get help and so forth. And it's out there now.
Yeah, it is. I think one of the other things that we've learned through this is one of the communities that's really stepped it up and done a great job was the city of San Diego.
Okay.
And obviously they have a little different climate. They have 12 months a year where probably it's better to be homeless. So they have a big issue. And
Enjoy the beach, right? Yeah.
But they've moved the needle. And so we looked into it and dug deeper and
Okay.
had learned that there's a private-public partnership down there. And there's a private group that has actually put funding together that will grant programs such as they really worked hard on counting the homeless on a regular basis. So there's a big piece there. A reunification program. So if there's an individual that law enforcement comes across that say isn't from Spokane and they learn that they're from Oklahoma, how's your family doing? Have you stayed in touch? Who is your family?
We can help with that.
We can help, and we put them with case management, and we try to reunify them with their family. And then there is accountability piece on case management. They have a really strong case management system, but the private sector came together to help with this case management. So right now, if we have a homeless person that is a vet, and they don't get with the right individual, we don't know because we don't have a management information system that's talking to each other. It's siloed.
Do you think we'll get to the point where the public, meaning city, county, and the private sector, will start to do some of that? And I worry more. I'm maybe too paranoid on it, but I worry more about the council, for instance, saying no, we know best. Do you are we getting to the point where you think they're open for that working together?
Well, I will say,
because I haven't seen it to this point. And that's why I asked the question.
I think if you went off history, you'd say no. But I think going forward, I will tell you that I think Councilmember Wilkerson and Councilmember Cathcart, they're stepping up and they're part of this. They want to be part of the solution. Or we're going to be holding them accountable at the ballot box.
Yes.
And community doesn't want that. They don't want divisiveness. They don't want to have finger pointing. Right. They want solutions, and they want to work together to find how to be the safest and healthiest city, safest and cleanest city in the U.S. So yes and no. It's a tough one. And that's where we want to take politics out of it and say, this is what we want. We got to get there. And we need leadership. So
you're better at taking out the politics than I am at times. But I get that. No, I personally, I think this is the year that we're going to take a very hard look at municipal races.
And rightfully so.
Yes.
It needs to be done. That's where the
accountability.
Has to be.
Yes.
Yep. And I will say that I think that as some of this action goes, and I think there's some racial justice type issues out there that are part of it, and I want to keep that stuff aside and focus on this. But at the end of the day, there is a certain culture out there that wants to take a shot, in my case at me, they're having a tough time canceling me. I mean, I'm on the other end, I'm serving the vulnerable community, in a lot of cases the homeless, that we're pulling kids out of situations where we're going to break a generational cycle of poverty and despair.
And sometimes I'm talking Kent again, conservatives often get pigeonholed as you don't care about the homeless. That's so untrue. I drive by and I'll see a homeless. My first reaction is, what are you doing panhandling? And then I'm going, yeah, but that person over there is a child of God. Why aren't we finding a way to help him or her? And that's really the priority. Yes, get them off the street, but can we help them so they can have a better life?
And we can. And I think with a coordinated effort and accountability,
Yes.
we can get there.
Yeah. So going forward, what's next?
So I right now we have...
Will it be all solved by July 1st?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I don't think... Well, homeless is always going to be a problem. And then we have
course.
things like the rent eviction moratorium right now. And what's that going to do? I mean, I think it's going to create make a problem that's going to be
Well, you're
more
going to
challenging.
add people that aren't habitually homeless to that segment.
Yeah.
That's what's going
And
to
that's
happen.
what we learned from Joe Ader at Family Promise today and what that looks like. And he has predictability models to determine if someone is about on the verge of homelessness so we can prevent it. It's an expensive industry.
Yes.
I call it an industry right now
Yes.
because it's there, but now what we're seeing are the complications that it could be worse. So right now it's continuing that community conversation and making sure that we all own it together and that we have a vision. And I think that vision is to be the safest and cleanest city in the U.S. And if we can focus on that and cut the politics
Which
out,
also
we'll get there.
focuses on the individuals.
And it has to.
Yeah.
It really does. And it has to. So where's it go? Well, the conversation has to happen, and it wasn't happening.
Yes.
And I will tell you, the mayor, last week's
there
press
was a
conference-
lot of this going on.
and there
finger
always
pointing.
will be, but she hired a city administrator, a gentleman by the name of Johnny Perkins. He's from San Diego, so he's seen it work down there.
Okay.
And he's come in.
I've heard good things.
Oh, I will tell you, and I appreciate his fire, his energy. I always call it fire in the belly, and he has got a roaring fire in his belly, and he's got the desire
Good.
and the perseverance to make sure we are the cleanest
Good.
and safest city in the U.S.
That's great. We got to meet him. We're going to get him on.
I would encourage
because-
it.
yeah,
You'll
yeah.
be impressed.
Yeah, and I can talk to him about Southern California weather because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I
Don't
do miss
send
some
him.
of that.
Well, don't make him miss it because we don't need him to go back.
Oh no. Well, no. I'll tell him all plane trips going south are excluded these days.
Okay.
Chud, thank you for stepping up for our community again. You've done that over the years for a number of things, including Hutton, obviously. And I've seen you in action out there. We've covered it almost 2 years ago, I guess, when that was the 100-year, the centennial celebration and so forth. So congratulations on all that. You have wonderful staff, great kids out there. And just think of the lives that you're saving and helping them move forward. We've even hired one of them to do some of our graphics. Our new logo was designed by one of your former students. I wanted to say inmates, but I don't know. What do you call them out there? Kids.
He's
They're
an
kids.
alum now.
Yeah.
And Brian's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
good guy.
Yes. Well, thank you, and congrats on your move.
Thank you.
Yep, and thank you.
I didn't see you here last week helping us move on the
Too
hottest
hot.
day of the
It was
year
too
so
hot.
far.
Yeah, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. All right. Thanks for, most important, thank you for watching the Pulse of Spokane. Check out the website, which is, it's not a website, it's Facebook.
Facebook and a Facebook page, Spokane Business and Commercial Property Owner.
All right. Kind of keep up on what's going on, and maybe you can offer some suggestions and help and so forth, because I see this really involving all of us in the private sector, and that's how we can help. Thank you, Chud.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Thanks for watching.
The economy is getting stronger. Banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
This is River Ridge Frame Shop, called Frame It Today, where we can take your art, customize it, and get it ready to hang on the wall. Ridge Hardware, 2803 West Garland.
Contact us today to learn how PowerView automation makes everyday living effortless.
Weather in the inland Northwest can wear you down. And if your gutters are in poor condition or you do not have gutters, you could suffer damage that could cost a fortune to fix. Rainman Seamless Rain Gutters has almost 30 years of professional experience in serving the inland Northwest region and strives to ensure customer service that is second to none, from the time you call to the end of the project.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.